Hey everyone, this is Mika, and you're watching Black Girl with Glasses on YouTube. This is also our second episode of the Black Excellence series. Tonight's guest is a really good friend of mine. We met at WAYO FM, or the WAYO FM radio station, where she's a co-host of No Labels Included. She studied biomedical sciences at the Rochester Institute of Technology. She was a writer and storyteller for TEDx, Flower City, and independently organized a TED event. And now she works for the City of Rochester Department of Recreation. So please give a warm welcome to Irene Kannyo.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm good. I'm gonna feel a lot better now. So
I got mine, so I'm definitely comfortable.
yeah, that's awesome. So for one, I want to thank you for being on the show tonight. Like, it's very much an honor that you're here, for real.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be asked. I actually feel very special to be included in your last guest. Was super interesting, so I hope I live up to her. But yeah, I really appreciate you asking me to join you. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. So now, I remember the last time we spoke, you told me a little bit about your family being immigrants. Could you tell me, or tell who's watching, about your family's journey and what led them to the United States?
Yeah. I was born here, but both of my parents were born in Uganda. My dad came here. He went to college in Uganda, Makerere University, and then he came here for grad school. He went to Yale. And my mother came over here, not for school, but she was staying with friends and family in Washington, D.C. And so they didn't meet until they got over here, and they met in New York City at one of a typical kind of gathering of Africans that happens a lot for immigrant groups. So yeah, they met at a party. So yeah, that's how they got here. And I was born in LA, and then my dad came, basically followed the jobs. He had a teaching job in LA, and then he got a teaching job in Auburn, New York at Wells College, and then he went to Geneseo, and then finally to RIT. So,
oh, nice. So
Rochester.
So does your father still work at RIT, or is your mother also working in the academic field, or?
My mom is not. My mom is a nurse at Strong Hospital, and my dad is still working at RIT. He's a professor in the political science department.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm going to ask you too, how does your upbringing and being a child of immigrants influence you as a Black woman and a storyteller?
Yeah, being an immigrant kid there are a lot of similarities I have, I think, with other kids of immigrants. There are a lot of stereotypical struggles that we have, and I think people have written BuzzFeed articles about them. But I think the good thing about it is I feel connected to Uganda in a way that I didn't really appreciate until I was older. And I know there are a lot of people here, Black people in the US, that feel connected to Africa, would like to feel more connected and find their roots. And so I feel very grateful to know my roots, to know what country my parents and my grandparents are from. And it helps me to empathize a lot with other immigrant people, even not from Africa, but people I meet, I kind of have a little bit of solidarity for, and I think it helps me to connect and communicate, whether I interact with them at work or in groups I volunteer with, or maybe just on the street. I feel like I can recognize that if I hear someone speaking with a different language and connect with them, and I feel like it makes me helpful. So I feel grateful for that ability.
And I was wondering too, because you talk about how you connect with others, you who speak different languages. You can empathize with them. I was wondering, when you were growing up, did you ever feel as if with your like, have you ever been around other children, or did you have the opportunity to grow up with other children who are also immigrants, or did you have that experience, like other children, where you just felt very alone, you know, in your situation as far as growing up with immigrants?
Yeah,
If that
I
makes
wasn't.
sense.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I wasn't always hanging out with people that had other immigrant families. One of my best friends growing up was adopted. That's probably the closest that I was with someone who came from a different country. But our family what did have like looser connections in the city. I grew up outside the city, but we came into the city a lot for gatherings of Africans. And so I did know growing up a bunch of other kids that had parents from Africa, mostly from Nigeria. I think one of our family friends' fathers is from like Angola. Um, but I wasn't really close with them. Like I think we were friends like when we were really little, and then kind of went our separate ways. So I didn't really feel like a big tight knit community. I had like access to it, but I didn't feel like it was there all the time. So it was kind of like a being alone. I grew up in a suburban town that was predominantly white, so it definitely wasn't a common experience for me to run into people who had immigrant parents. So.
Oh wow! So, how was that? Like growing up in a suburban area? Like, please, like, elaborate on that if
It's
you will
completely
mind.
unexpected. I was like, I think one of like 5 Black kids in my grade, and then my good friend that came later on after 7th grade was Asian. We became really close, and she was adopted. So it was just like all the stresses of high school, plus being a little bit even more of an outcast. I think that outcast feeling was on the inside. Like I definitely was able to join, groups with friends, and I did sports, and like so I was involved in stuff. But there was definitely an outsider feeling the whole time. So, and I feel like I used humor to very much deal with that turmoil and frustration. So I think maybe that helped me to fit in.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, I was wondering, like, while I was doing research for this particular episode, I saw that you attended the RIT of Biomedical Sciences, and knowing that you're creative in your own right, how were you able to combine your interest of love and science, with being a writer and a storyteller?
Yeah, writing came easily and naturally. Science I didn't really care about. I went in a STEM field at the encouragement of my parents, and it was really a means to an end. I was more interested in psychology, but I didn't really understand it. So I went in like basically with an interest kind of in psychology. I ended up starting to go towards neuroscience,
Yes.
but I was really interested in questions of the personality and how that was passed down. And I I enjoyed the writing aspect of all of my classes the most. And a lot of the STEM kids at RIT and like the engineers hate writing and liberal arts classes, and I love them. So it helped me excel in those electives that people hate because I loved writing, and I liked technical writing and creative writing. So yeah, I was able to get a paper, like a conference proceeding published, which was like a very exciting thing for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was something I was proud of. And I won an award at RIT for writing during my senior year, which is a cool project I got really, really into. It was about the connection between music and mood and memory. So I got really into that. I thought it was a cool connection between like science and like storytelling. So yeah.
So, does anyone have access to any of that material that you've written?
Yeah, I think it's not the mood and memory. It's the mood and memory is published in like an anthology of people that won that award. So it's probably available at the RIT library. I can try to find the title of it. And then the conference proceedings is just like a DOI link. I can send it, just like a link to the conference, like the entire conference proceedings. and then mine's in there.
Yeah, that would be cool. Then I could definitely let people know about it, because it's extremely interesting. It's very honorable to like have your work published by your college, or whatever college um you were attending at the time. Like, I remember when I did a research project, and it was published. It was for McNair, because I was a McNair scholar at the time.
I was
So
too.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Shout out to the McNair program.
right, right.
Good people, at least at RIT, it was good people.
Yeah, they were awesome people. The ones that I worked with, they prepared us for research in college, and how to go through that whole process. So it was very honorable to be a part of that experience, and to actually um, have my work published, or at least the idea of it anyway. And I got to do the board. For one of the conferences, I got to do my little presentation board. It was really cool.
It is
So,
really awesome.
so
Yes.
um, moving on. So I was wondering, like, when did you realize that biomedical sciences, or that particular field, was not a part of your overall career path? Were you just like sitting in your office or sitting in class and like, this ain't for me, or or was this something you've thought about before you made a decision to switch your career path?
I started to get the feeling as I was getting closer to graduating college, because I was starting to look at grad schools, and when you look at grad schools, you look at like very specific topics to specialize in. So I was looking at neuroscience schools, and I went and like interviewed at a few schools, and like during the interviews, as I talked with the different professors that you would have been working with, I basically decided it was too narrow. Like, going into research was very, I don't know what the word for it is, but it was you focus on one specific area for like 5 to however many years it takes you to graduate. And so I was more curious about a wide variety of topics. And so I kind of found out during the interview process, and I think I was a little bit too honest in some of my interviews.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what came over me. I must have been really nervous, but I went to an interview at Plymouth University in the UK. It was like, I think me and like a couple other students who were at the interview stage. I went to dinner with the professor I would have been working with, and we were just talking about it. And I think I accidentally, maybe not, but I was very honest, and I said, this isn't exactly what I want to do. It's just the closest thing to what I'm interested in.
Oh.
I think I didn't really think about it at the time until maybe a few weeks later. I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I was just being honest because that's how I felt, and maybe I was sabotaging myself because I was kind of getting cold feet. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was just it was hard to find something to specialize in. I like talking about a variety of topics, so writing is more of a better vehicle for doing that. So
Right.
yeah.
So that's very interesting, though. Like, how long would you have been in the UK before, if you were to take that particular path?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for a PhD program, usually it's like 4 years. That's the idea. So people usually stay longer because research is always a bitch. So,
Right.
but it's a long time to be stuck somewhere where you're not sure if you want to be there. So you definitely have to know what you're doing before you jump into that kind of program.
Right. Exactly. So this brings me, speaking of your path in writing, I really want to talk about No Labels Included. You and your co-host discuss topics like self-care, mental illness, racism, etc. How did y'all come up with the concept of your podcast?
Yeah, it's my brainchild, and my co-host Jerry Ann is a fellow AmeriCorps alumni. We both did the Rochester AmeriCorps program, so that's how I found her. But the concept, my initial idea was I wanted to talk about these things. I wanted to blog about these things, but I've been saying I'm going to start a blog for like 3 or 4 years and just never did it. And the radio was like, "Oh, maybe this will be an easier. I don't have to publish. I can just talk." And then Jerry Ann, I did AmeriCorps with her boyfriend, And as I befriended her later, I kind of just saw the type of content she was posting on her Facebook page, did a little stalking, and she was posting a lot of the same themes that I was interested in discussing. So she's very like funny, and she posts a lot of funny and interesting memes and like conversation starters about race and history. And so I was like, you're a smart choice to join, like if you're interested. So I kind of approached her and took her to brunch, and I was like, hey, you want to do this thing? And she was super excited to do it. So yeah, that was back in February we started, and then the show started in April. So
Yeah, like I noticed that you've interviewed a lot of people, like Melanie Funches and a young woman in Florida, I believe. And you talked about self-care, and I was wondering, like,
mm-hmm.
how do you feel about seeing like your show evolve to the point where you now have connections, various connections around the country because of your show?
I'm very excited for it. I hope it continues. I think that any kind of creative project, it's important to have like use your network. So Shelly is our womb sanctuary guest who talked about like women's holistic health. Is actually Jerry knows her. So we just try to reach out to as many people as we know when we think about a topic, someone that can speak on it. So that's like kind of what my show's about. I like to talk about things I've read about, but I'm not an expert by any means. And like I said, my background is biology and like a little psychology, but I really want to connect with people who have that knowledge. And like, I'm curious, I want to ask them all sorts of questions. So yeah, I'm very excited, and I hope I continue to get noticed so that people are interested in joining us on the show.
Cool. So, I was wondering too, like, what are your future? For one, like, I want to back up a little bit. And we talked about this, like your love for podcasts and how you listen to them extensively. Yeah. So I was wondering, are there ones that you believe are influential in regards to No Labels Included?
Yeah, absolutely. I was inspired because I followed podcasts that really felt like they're opening a door for Black women to podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they've been around for me. Some of them are pretty new, and some have been around for a while. But I didn't really listen to podcasts before like last year, and so I wasn't really aware of that many Black women podcasters. So when I stumbled upon them, it was definitely a feeling of like a door opening. My favorite podcasts that influenced the show are Another Round, which is a BuzzFeed podcast, and I love it because they really artfully use like humor and like relatability to talk about like cultural issues. And they also interview, I feel like they're famous because they get really great interviews. Like they had Hillary Clinton on there. They've had Roxanne Gay. They've had like really all sorts of celebrities on their show. And then For Colored Nerds is another one that's a big influence, which I think I recommended to you. So I don't know.
Yes.
It's so good. They are two Howard grads, a man and a woman who are friends, and they do a really great job of, I think they do the best when they kind of analyze music, TV, and movies, but they also talk about history and social justice issues. And then the third one is Black Girls Talking, and I feel like that's a kind of radical podcast in that they really embrace how feminine they are, and they don't really care who's listening. They're just very much open to being themselves. It doesn't sound like radio. It really just sounds like Black girls talking. So I love that vibe, and that's kind of what I try to bring to our show. So yeah.
That's awesome. For real. So
all three of those free advertising.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely look for them too. Like for Colored Nerds, I do remember you mentioning that, and I've yet to check it out, but I definitely will now.
Yeah.
So I was meant to ask you, like, what are your future plans for your podcast?
We want to have it be an hour long, and it's always hard. You know how it is, like at the station, trying to fit time slots around. So we keep working with that. But we might do an extended version that is outside of the radio station, and that'll allow us to be like uncensored. So we can
Yes.
do swears. We can be pretty. We can promote as much as we want without worrying about FCC guidelines. So we might do that.
Right.
And we just want to kind of continue to get really interesting voices in the studio, and maybe some more influential names in the Rochester community to come talk with us and engage us so we can get more listeners.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, do you have any guests in mind as far as like influential people in Rochester?
Not specifically. I think it always goes by topic, but I think it'd be interesting to eventually talk to politicians. I know that that's always a thing. Then you have to do like the equal time laws, but that'd be cool. Judges, I don't know. Like, I'm just interested in a lot of different areas. So like, I feel like as each topic arises, I'd love to talk to someone in Rochester that has an expertise and a following. So.
Right. So let's talk about your relationship with TEDx Flower City and your affiliation with them. How did you get involved, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I got involved because I met William Monteith, who was the former president, at a branding workshop at the Brainery. So it was very out of the blue, but basically we were kind of presenting what we were interested in doing, and I told him I was interested in writing and they needed a blogger. So he seemed to trust me a lot. He was like, we need one, so you should come right now. I think they were like really hustling to get promotion going for that following year. I think it must have been 2014, because the first one I did was 2015. So it was like that fall, and I think they were getting ready to do the event in the spring, so they really needed promotion. So I like joined right away. And it was really cool. It was like a volunteer organization of a lot of creative people who are very smart. And I really loved it. I loved being involved. I liked blogging. It was a small team, so it was kind of exhausting, and I was a blogger and I helped organize a little bit. There were a lot of people who took on a lot of work. So I did it like a year, and then wanted to kind of make room for other things because it was kind of an exhausting project, and it changed directions at the end. But during the year and a half I was involved, I really enjoyed it.
I was wondering, do you see yourself becoming involved in that again, or TED Talks in general? If so, why not? Why or why not? Or if so, or why?
I'd love to be on the other side of the stage. And then I would love to do like a TED Talk for women, or like a Black women TED Talk or something. That would be cool. I don't think I'll join Flower City again, but I like the concept and the idea. So, yeah.
All right. So, if you were to, would you like to, or do you see yourself starting that process as far as doing a TED Talks for Black women or Black people in general?
I would love to. It's like a long-term thing. I'm even just putting it out into the universe if anyone else wants to do it, because it's a lot of work and organizing, but I think it would be really awesome for Rochester. So I think it's doable. But right now I'm focusing on the radio, and so I feel like that needs to get a lot of momentum before I do anything else. But I have it in the back of my heart and it's in the universe. So yeah.
All right. So, you have no labels included, experiences with TEDx Flower City, your science background, and now you work for the City of Rochester Department of Recreation. What does that entail, and how do you employ all your other skills and talents for the position you have now?
The City of Rochester, I work for the Department of Recreation, and it's a very administrative job. I do contracts, and so how it employs my skills is technical writing kind of, and editing, because it's a lot of legal documentation, and it's also a lot of my people skills. I actually feel like I I'm comfortable on the radio because I have to talk a lot on the phone, and I've done that for like maybe 3 years now through the city. So that all comes together for sure. So it has really nothing to do with my science background though at all.
Okay, that's really cool. So basically, you do a lot of writing and research for the city, and do so when you like it seems like you're able to use a lot of your writing skills for this particular job, and I was wondering, um, are you able to um, through your job like see what's going on and just be observant and then like write about it, or is it do what you I'm sorry, does what you see at work like influence how you see people at Rochester, or what can you do to write about it or talk about it? Does it actually like give you ideas for topics, your job?
A little bit, but it's a little bit siloed for me. I think in my office, I'm not really involved in projects that are like across departments. So, but I definitely do hear about conversations happening in the way that like what the mayor is interested in doing. Um, yeah, it does gives me an idea. I definitely hear, we always hear about the mayor's priorities for like safer streets and like education. And so I definitely, whenever I hear that, I think about the bigger picture and then what's the activism behind it, like what actually needs to happen to get those goals, and then what's the city doing and where do they conflict, stuff like that. My role particularly doesn't really involve that stuff, but I definitely hear conversations that make me think and sometimes inspire me for radio ideas.
Oh, okay. So I would have like opened the floor for comments and questions, but unfortunately we don't have anyone listening as far as I know. So, but at the same time, it's really cool anyway, because if they do have questions and comments, it will be on YouTube, on the Black Girl with Glasses YouTube page anyhow. So you will be able to ask questions and make comments in the comment section. So I was wondering whether or not you had any um, any questions for me as far as I'm sorry, I was just looking at my cat. I was like, what is going on? Um, but I was wondering whether or not you had any questions for me as far as this whole process and the work I do and things like that. Just simply because we both do the same type of thing as far as the radio.
Yeah.
So I was wondering whether or not you had any like anything to add to the conversation that we're having now.
Yeah, you want to come on my show? I got to interview you on our show. And then I got your book, the one taken from the Sea of Stars, so I can't wait to read that. But I'm interested in, you seem to be pursuing various avenues of creativity. So I'm interested in how you balance that and how you decided to do what. Like I know like you're a writer, you do radio, and you do a YouTube series. So like why did you decide to do that? Are they all kind of in line with promoting your writing, or are they all just different outlets for you creatively?
They are actually promoting my writing and promoting whether it be blog writing or my actual novels and things like that. So I came up with Black Girl with Glasses for my political writing, and then I figured look, I need to have I need to have some way to do this, and I've always wanted to do it. So I came up with the idea of Black Girl with Glasses, or at least I got the ball rolling around the summer when there was a onset of unfortunate shootings among black men, or among like pretty much around that time when black men were being targeted. And so I just wanted to say something to like combat that. And initially, I came up with it, and I would try to figure out what I was going to do as far as Black Girl with Glasses and do my writing and the radio. But the two and like all of it just all of it to me comes together because it involves me communicating with people, and and I try to get everything together as far as scheduling and stuff like that. So I would have time to do all of it. Like so far, I'm starting to get as far as the scheduling and being on top of things. I'm just now getting on it. But to answer your question, like I do everything I can to like make sure that everything meshes together. So
a really good job. I think it does like flow. Like it's not like anything's inconsistent. You have a very consistent message. So I think you're doing a good job.
right. So all right. So that's all the time we have for this week. So thank you, Irene, for joining me and joining us when we put it on YouTube. So check it out. Check out No Labels Included every Thursdays at 4:30 Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Excuse me, on WAYO 104.3 FM. You can listen live WAYO. On wayofm.org and catch the archived episodes on Mixcloud and Facebook. You can also follow them on Twitter. You can also follow Black Girl with Glasses here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and WordPress.com, and I'll put all that info in the description. Tune in next Monday for my review of The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. And until next time, love, peace, and fake chicken grease. Mm-hmm.